me, Angelica Cheyenne, aka the Chocolate Diva. I am here with
Desi Valentine.
And this is the Chocolate Diva Talk Show. Stay tuned. Happy Friday, everybody. I am back once again. It's me, Angelica Cheyenne, aka the Chocolate Diva, back on the Chocolate Diva Talk Show. And like every week, I am bringing you the hottest from the underground. I am so happy to be sitting here with one of my new favorites. He is a soul singer, former rocker, thespian, and overall performer. I welcome Desi Valentine.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. I actually wanted to say first and foremost, how was your Valentine's?
My Valentine's was fantastic. I played a concert last night down in Hollywood, and I spent the night with some of my favorite human beings, and got a chance to perform and really loved it. Really, really loved the night.
Oh, that sounds so amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. Lots of fun.
So was that your first performance in that club?
Yes,
okay.
It was. I'd been to that venue once before. It's kind of a swanky place called Adults Only. Mm-hmm. And it's you have to walk through this this fake old 1980s video store first, and the bar is in the back, so you wouldn't know when you walk past it. You just think it's some like closed down video store. And then when you walk through, it's like a beautiful venue in there, and yeah, it was first time, and I didn't know that they had live music there actually. Mm-hmm. So they basically set up a beautiful stage there, and then they had there was 5 artists for the night, 5 different artists or bands for the night, so it was great. Got lots of good music.
I mean, that seems like a fun, and especially when you're going somewhere that's new and you're with people that like you really like on top of that, yes. That always makes for a better performance. Now, it is Fun Fact Friday, like every Friday here on the Chocolate Diva Talk Show, and since you're Desi Valentine and yesterday was Valentine's Day, he's looking at me like, oh my gosh. I have to ask you, we were actually having this discussion prior off air. I kind of know how you feel about it now, but for everyone else, what was the most romantic thing you did on Valentine's Day?
Honestly, because it was more of a work day, there wasn't really much emphasis on the romantic side of things. But I'm an advocate of love. You know, I try and spread it as much as I can, and I try to exercise self-love. You know, you've got to love on yourself in order to be loved by anybody else. So I think it was more a combination of that rather than romantic love. Like I didn't do anything, no bold gestures or anything. But
I'm like saying for any Valentine's Day, I know this Valentine's Day was more centered around your music and work, but like in general, like maybe that, you know, sappy Valentine's Day in grade school that we all have. You know, it's like, will you be my Valentine? You know?
Like down on bended knee.
Yeah. But like in general, like when it comes to the Valentine's Day season, give our listeners a steamy or just like a fiery, if you will, if you have a story like that maybe occurred on that specific holiday. I'm a holiday
you're a holiday girl.
Yeah,
you're a holiday girl. My way of expressing love the most is to cook. Right? Oh. So I really, really cook. So for my ex, I prepared like a really beautiful, like 5-course meal, like with amazing desserts and all of these. Went all the way in, and so that was probably the most like romantic, because I pour the love into the food that I make in a big way. So,
oh my gosh!
Yes.
So like you actually can cook, not just like I can like put things together, but you can create.
I can create, definitely. I have recipes that come the same place that I get my song lyrics from and song ideas from. I get recipes from that same pool. So recipes will just pop in my head, and I'm like, yep, I'm going to make that today, and go and get the ingredients and kind of already know what it's going to taste like.
When did you start cooking?
Well, my mom actually taught me to cook when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I was like, Mom, can you make me this and that? She was like, make it yourself. And I was like, all right.
She sees you how to be self-sufficient
exactly.
at 8.
And then so I went downstairs and she showed me how to make all the things, and I've just loved cooking ever since. My mum's an amazing cook. My nan's an amazing cook. My dad was a great cook too.
So it definitely runs in the family.
Yeah. Like it's really, I'm a real foodie man.
Okay, so I know whose house I'm coming to for next holiday.
Exactly. I got you.
Right. But like, what is your favorite meal to make? Like, what is your go-to meal? If you're trying to press someone or you're just hungry, what's your go-to meal?
I make this shrimp pasta dish that's I love Italian cuisine, so that's my favorite thing to cook.
Yes.
It's like a spinaci di gamberetti. It's like a spinach pesto and shrimp kind of pasta, like a creamy pasta
that
sauce.
Sounds really delicious.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm actually about to make it for my mate because he was like, he's just started eating fish again.
Yeah.
Because he was a vegetarian for the longest time, so he was like, just started eating fish again. He was like, please, can you make me that shrimp pasta? I was like, all right, I got you. I got it.
What is it? It's just something about, like, people can like shrimp and pasta, and some people don't like shrimp and pasta, but I haven't met too many people who don't like the mix. Like, there's just something about shrimp pasta that just entices people.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best. I'll make it for you.
Right. Definitely, I love it. Like, whenever my mom cooks, I'm just like, hey, like, can you make the rice and shrimp dish with the chicken?
Oh, yeah.
You know, my mom likes to mix seafood with chicken in a lot of her dishes. So I definitely understand you there. Now, if anyone's listening, you could probably hear the accent. If you're from California anyway, we always say, like, we're the connoisseur of accents. We can tell where anyone is from by their accent. Desi was born and raised in Catford, London, which is in the UK. Now, you had success in musical theater on Broadway and West End before you became a full musical artist. So what was the first musical you performed in?
I graduated from college and went straight into the original cast of the Producers musical, the Mel Brooks musical. On the West End, I did that for 2 years. That was my first job out of college and first musical that I did. Actually, technically, the first musical that I ever did was Oliver Twist, when I was 12 years old. That was technically the first. But like as a professional, it was the Producers.
Did you go to performing arts schools as a child?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I studied. I started singing when I was 8 years old, singing and dancing lessons, and then I went to a full-time performing arts, like a stage school, and then to a performing arts college afterwards to get like diploma in the whole thing, in performance and anatomy as well. So
now, did you know as a young child that was going to be the pathway? Because a lot of people obviously love theater and music, and that's where they studied in. And then some people know, like, I want to be on stage as a performer, no matter what it is. Like, did you know you wanted to be a performer, or were you just into the arts?
I knew I was a performer straight away. You know, there's not really many places that I feel more alive than being on stage. It's one of the things that brings me a lot of joy, and I really feel like I have the ability to connect to an audience and ultimately make them feel the lyrics and feel what it is that I'm singing. And there's no better place than on stage for me personally. I know some people prefer to just do the songwriting or be behind the scenes or but for me, I love to be on stage. I
mean, it's good that you found that love early, because so many times you hear people, like, I remember I heard Jennifer Lopez's mother say she, you know, was into that singing in the arts, but because it was more conducive for money to go to school and do other things, she did stuff that, you know, makes you money. And like anyone who is pursuing arts know that it takes time to monetize your talent, but when it does hit, it hits, and that's what I feel like is happening for you now. Now, where does your initial love for music begin? Like when you were a young little tyke, does anyone still say that? A little kid, where does your love for music and theater derive from?
Well, both my parents are huge music heads, so they would they had an entire wall full of vinyls from every different genre, every different artist, from reggae to jazz to classical music. And I think just through osmosis of just being around it, I really found a love and a passion for that. And then when I started to learn to sing and perform myself, it's like I'd already been marinated in really good music from my parents just loving it the way that they did.
Yeah. I mean, it's always cool. Parents always can turn you on to new things that inspire you. Now, what was the song that when you were little you would just sing all the time? You know?
Oh, God, there's so many. So many songs. I really liked Sade when I was younger.
Hello, Sade.
Yeah, so Sade I really enjoyed, and Cyndi Lauper I really enjoyed when I was growing up as well. I was like, and Michael Jackson.
Oh.
Michael Jackson was actually a very, very big influence of mine growing up, and I think nobody did pop music like Michael Jackson.
Oh,
you know, obviously he's the king of pop, but in a real way, it's just like I think I have learned a lot just from being able to like execute pop sensibility as a writer, and I think that's a thing that really carries through to me now.
Yes. And it's amazing that you mentioned Sade, Cyndi Lauper, and Michael, 3 big, huge superstars, legends, amazing performers and singers, but also UK, America. Yeah. And I feel like that, you know, merging of both is very evident in your style and your music.
Oh, really? That's cool. Yeah, no, I'd like to. That's lovely to hear. That's lovely to hear that.
It's amazing because, you know, sometimes people have inspirations or they love or drawn to people from their communities or from their same countries, but it's like, hey, I love the best in my country and the American country, and I'm bringing those together to make something totally new, which is me. Yeah. So it's definitely great. Now, what was the most thrilling part about being on stage for you?
For a particular period of time, are you talking about?
In general, so like when you go on a stage, whether you're singing, performing in a play, doing a musical, what's the most thrilling part about it for you?
The most thrilling part is I spend a lot of time in the recording studio writing. A large part of what I do is creating new material for TV and film licensing. So I've been fortunate enough to have my music used in TV shows and commercials and movies and these things. So I spent a lot of time in the studio, and I think the best bit of getting to be on stage is when you're actually performing, you get that energy come back to you. There's a real like push and pull of energy that goes back and forth that you really get back what you give. Like you really do. And I love being in the studio, don't get me wrong, but you can kind of like punch into different bits of sections and whatever. It's not the same as being really present in a song and having the people feel the emotion of whether it is like you want them dancing and moving around and like, you know, shaking some booty, or you want them to really connect to the lyrics and the emotion of something. You get that feedback, you get that energy there, you know. So that's the most thrilling bit for me. And when I get on stage, it's I'm sweating. I'm like, I'm doing, I want to leave it all on the stage and don't come to play around.
I mean, yes, and that is a typical, like, you can really tell that's where your love and passion for what you do come in, because it's like you want to give them a show, but you also want to like connect with your audience. It's like I'm singing to you, with you, for you, and it's just like in the venues I notice you perform in is you're very in close proximity to your audience, you know, as an artist, which, you know, is not always common because, you know, when people get more popular, they get bigger venues, but you still manage to perform intimately, which is really cool. Now, how did you transition from being a Broadway performer to a music artist?
I initially transitioned. So funny. The story actually goes that I was at a party. I was in the producers at the time. I was at a party, having some drinks, having some laughs or whatever, and I was chatting to this dude, and he was like, "So you're a singer, right?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "So you're like trained to sing, like you went through the training and stuff like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And he was like, "So why don't you go into music? Like, why don't you go into like making music? Because a lot of people don't have the training, but they don't have really great singers that are great training going into pop music and stuff like that. So you should do that." And I was like, and usually I've got some sort of a smart aleck response or retort to anything that anybody says like that, but I didn't. I was like, that's absolutely what I should do. And I, no joke, like 2 days later, went and bought like a first keyboard that was like not weighted, and it was pretty rubbish actually, and started writing songs from that point. And then that guy I never saw ever again. I can't remember who he is even really, because it was such a flyby comment kind of thing.
Kind of like a divine sign, like, hey.
It was, but that person changed the entire course of my life and my career, because this is always what I was supposed to do. And as soon as I started creating music and seeing the passion for that, like, it fulfilled me more than I'd ever felt before. Yeah.
What did you think may have happened if you had not encountered that person who kind of geared you that way?
I'm a firm believer that there's a lot that's written in like destiny. I think I would have ultimately ended up making music because that's my path, that's my gifts in life to do so. So whether it be that guy or whether it would have been some other way, I think I'd still be sitting in this chair talking with you.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. And I believe in fate too, and destiny, and encountering people on your path, because I feel like that is a sign and kind of a nudge. Okay, this is the right path, or maybe you should think about a different avenue. But for yourself, when you were in that, say, okay, I'm going to transition from Broadway and I'm going to be a musical artist, I'm going to release music. What was the first song that you wrote from that? What was like the first thing you thought, okay, this is what I'm going to write about because this is the music I want to do?
Yes. Well, what was the first song I wrote? First song. I actually honestly can't remember the very first song. I'm pretty sure it was not good.
Everyone like, says that, and I just like, I need to hear, because sometimes we're just too hypercritical because of how much we've grown since then.
Yeah,
that we're like too hard on the beginning, and then you have to think of it objectively, like, oh, okay, it wasn't as bad as I think.
Yeah, I just grown so much, as you say, like grown so much as a singer and as a writer, and knowing what it is that you do and how you do it. And I'm like, I made a record. I think you briefly talked about it earlier on. I made a rock and roll record first of all, like rock pop album first, because I was really inspired by that music at the time. Like, it was very new. I didn't ultimately grow up with a lot of rock music, so. I was just like, it was different. It was exciting to me. But when it came down to really what it is that, you know, that makes you and your voice special and has the ability to make somebody really connect when they listen to it, I ultimately found myself in the style that I make now. And I'm still proud of that record. You know, I think that it was good. You know, it was solid songwriting, and I liked the production and all the instrumentation. Like, I really did like it, but you just see how far you've come over this period of time. That was 10 years ago now. So, and that was the first like full length record that I made. So, yeah, it's it's always good to look back, but
Yeah.
it's great to kind of look forward to see what's the next 10 years are going to be.
Do you ever have an anniversary for like your beginnings? Like, oh, this is my 10-year mark from when this started.
I don't usually, but because Facebook does that,
Yes.
they do it for you.
It's like the memories you don't want to remember comes up.
I'm like, yeah, let's try and forget that one.
No, but like that's understandable. Some people are like they try to forget, and then some people do revel. So it just depends on which side of the spectrum you're on. Now, what artists were like your foundation? I feel like when people are in music, everyone has their idols or the people they view as like who they studied and learned from. So who was your foundation artist that you used as an example to figure out like, okay, this is the arena I'm going to be in?
Well, I have a few.
Top three.
I think the top three, yes. I'd say a huge influence of mine is Nina Simone. I think when I'm still confounded by this woman's talent, you know, unbelievable. Such a unique voice, and I think there's something as a parallel between our voices, kind of both have raspy, interesting sounding voices, that I learned a lot about what to do with my voice from listening to her, and how the way that she would write and custom curtail everything around her voice, that she'd say one sentence, it'd like cut right through you, and like it's just I'm such an unbelievable artist, and lyrics like just such a complex and amazing person that huge influence of mine. Amy Winehouse is a huge influence of mine as well. I think I've studied and sung jazz for many years, and blues too, so kind of being cut from those cloths and bringing it into the modern sound, into the pop world ultimately. So I think what Amy Winehouse did was, you know, she became a legend within only 2 albums that she had out, and it was, you know, timeless and amazing and raw and honest. And I think that I've got a lot of influence from the way that she writes, because it's straight from the heart, and for better or for worse, that's, you know, she had issues, she had turmoil that's going on inside her that she could really only express in that respect, and I really relate to that. Yeah,
I mean, I think what you're saying is all true. Nina Simone, Amy Winehouse, they told you stories, and they also, it's like they were speaking to a higher level of yourself. It's almost like they put you in a trance with their lyrics and their voices, and I feel like you as an artist, like, I love music that takes you on a journey, and I feel like when I listen to your songs, it's like I'm taking on a journey, like I'm astral flying, you know. So it's very unique. It's very true to soul music, to jazz music, to music of just overcoming and just finding that higher purpose, I'd say.
Yeah,
you know,
big time.
It's amazing. Now, you are from the UK. That is a big hub of music.
Yes.
They say that the 60s and 80s were the decades for the British invasion, and if you're a music person like myself, you know that's kind of when all of the greatest British artists of all time just influenced America with their talent.
Yes.
So, how did the British invasion spark your interest in when it came to your early rock career? Because you used to be a rock pop artist with the Mohawk.
Yes.
So was that a factor in you pursuing that genre?
Yes, very, very, very much so. Not so much the 80s sound, even though I really enjoyed it. It didn't influence me the same way that the 60s rock and roll bands like I loved The Who, and I love you know, Queen. I love all of these kind of iconic British bands, even the Police, you know, some of those guys.
Yeah.
Spanning over all of that period of time, it was just so exciting to see what was coming from what had come from the UK. So obviously it's so small in comparison to America, and English artists had some of in the Great Hall of Fame, you know, it's there's a lion's share of British artists and bands that are in there, and there's something really special that comes out of the UK when it comes to that type of expression. So it's I'm happy that it was London that made me, you know. And,
right. You know, I think it's definitely true, and it's good that you have a lot of reverence from the beginnings and where it's going now, you know, because there's a lot of great artists that are coming out of the UK in today, Adele being one.
Yes.
You know, but how did you find your niche in music? Because I feel like that you went through a period where you, found out you want to pursue music, and then you were trying to find what was you. And you were meshing all of these different things together. So how did you find that one thing, like, this is me?
Well, it's funny that you actually bring up Adele, because it was actually Adele's 21 album. I had been shopping my first album at the Rock Pop album around, kind of hit a bit of a wall with it, and I was like, I've spent a lot of time, energy, resources on really promoting this and gigging it and doing all of these things, but it wasn't progressing. And I kind of was at a loss for a moment there, because I was like, I usually am a planner, so I always know what the next thing I'm going to do is. But it wasn't working, and I didn't really know what to do. So I was like, okay, for right now, came over to America for the first time, and ended up meeting with Interscope Records through a random connection that I'd made, and he was the A&R from Interscope, was like, okay, so what you need to do is like, I like your voice, but like you need to listen to the top 40 and like just figure out like where you can like fit in there. And I was like, that sounds gross, man. Like, I don't want to do that at all. It feels really disingenuous. It doesn't feel like
you want to be unique to who you are.
So I was like, okay, well, until I figure out what is going on, I am going to study pop music. That's what the writing, what makes pop music, what the structures, the formulas, what engages people, these hooks, how to write a hook, how to get all of these things kind of going on. So while I was figuring all of that stuff out, I was focused on pop. And then the 21 album came out of Adele, and it blew my mind. And the passion and power that I really felt from her, and it was transcendent for me. And honestly, I was like, it was a come to Jesus moment. It was like, this is the music that I can make this music. Yeah, I can. I was like, and I'd sung jazz and blues all these years, and I grew up with Otis Redding and Sam Cooke and Nina Simone and all these people. So I got into the shower and I sung one of the new songs that I'd just written, but I sung it as a blues ballad, and I was like, yeah, this is what I should do. And it just was like that aha moment. It was. And people have been saying that to me for years, like as I was making the rock music, and people were like, you know what you should do? You should do like a throwback, like Amy Winehouse-y thing. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm making a rock record, so like, mind your business. No. Right. Actually, they were completely right in hearing something in my voice that really speaks to that sound. But you can't skip any of this stuff. I'm so glad I made that first record. I'm so glad I learned what I did. I'd learned so much about my voice and what I can actually do from singing rock stuff and pushing myself. And you can't skip the little steps. You gotta make sure you go around the houses to get to where you're supposed to get to.
Now, how did the move to LA benefit your career compared to when you were still in the UK?
Well, I think the two things kind of merged into one, because I changed genre and changed location pretty much at the same time. Okay. So whether I would have had crazy success with the old sound that I was making here, that I don't know. You know, only the Lord above knows that. So I'm like, but as soon as I kind of came into my own stylistically, things just started to work here for me. And people could hear that there was something special that was happening in the music, and it was already opening doors. And so it definitely wasn't a walk in the park at all. I've been here 7 years, and it's yes, I'm lucky to have seen success, but you know, still a long way to go, and there's still a lot more to achieve, and a lot more people to reach and spread the music around. But I just felt in flow here. As soon as I was here, I was like, things are working. And even though I've had struggles and I've had ups and downs, I've never at one point been like, well, I'm just going to pack up and move back to London. There's a beauty in the struggle that was here that was not present in London at all. So I'm grateful for this being my home.
And how did you handle that change? Because, I mean, you're not moving to a different city or even a different state. You're moving all the way across the water, you know, to get here. And, I mean, the culture is different. We drive on different sides of the roads. And on top of that, we have different prominent music, I'd say. So how did you adjust that? Because it's like you kind of mean like a 360. It's like, I'm changing countries. I'm changing styles. And so, for some artists, that may be overwhelming and kind of maybe they make them want to go back to their where they originally were starting off in. So how did you adjust and get used to that change?
It took about 6 months to like figure life out, you know, find an apartment, find a car, set it up and start meeting people. And I got a job actually at Soho House, members club over in West Hollywood, and started to make really good friends that I'm still really great friends with now, 7 years later. And I think good human beings, surrounding yourself with that, you can ultimately make anywhere home. And I think that's a big part of what made the transition a lot easier for me. I've been really, really lucky to meet and work with amazing people. So I think that once you got that, you're definitely set in that respect.
And what is some advice you can give to people who are looking for a change as an artist, as a person, or just someone trying to find their way? What advice can you give to them that will make their change a little bit more easier and less shocking?
I'd say one thing I've really learned, especially over the last year, is the power of stillness. Just slow it down and listen to your gut, listen to your heart, listen to your head. And there's a lot more power in stillness than I think people get credit for. So it's like when you want to make change, that you feel like you're frustrated. You're like, okay, I'm frustrated. I want to do this. But I'm like, take a second and just breathe. Like, even I do like 8 minutes of like breathing, breath work each day. And the sheer amount of patience that I have because of it, and the sheer amount of like focus and clarity that I have just because of that, because there's power in the stillness of that. I'm really found that over the last year. So that's probably the best advice I could give to anybody that's trying to make any innovative change. Just slow it down, think, breathe, and like just be still.
So recap, slow down, think, breathe, and be still. I think that is amazing advice. I mean, you can implement that just in the car before you're having to go anywhere. Like, especially in Los Angeles when you're on the road. You need that. Now, I have a little bit of a treat. I say it's a semi-treat because this is going to be straight out from the heart. I'm going to have an a cappella performance by Desi Valentine himself.
Oh my God.
Because he has such a lovely voice, and he is a singer who can sing with music or without. So, without further ado, Desi Valentine, I'll let you choose the song of your choice.
All right. Okay. You tell me where the camera's, 'cause I know this can't be real. If you're the question, I'm the answer. And I don't know how to feel. I'm overjoyed, I'm terrified, and I'm nervous. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm terrified, no, and I love.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I was in church. Now imagine that. He sang that a cappella. Like, imagine that with music. It'll be even more amazing. Oh, you have a lovely voice. And I'm sure our viewers are going to enjoy that tidbit. He just gave me a little taste. He was like, I gave you words.
She totally shocked me with that, by the way. She just dropped that on me.
Well, okay, sort of. We agreed when he got here. I was just like, you know what? I feel like you can do it. He was down, so I was very happy that he agreed. Now, your voice, very reminiscent of Motown. And if anyone just saw the recent Grammys and all of the songs that J.Lo performed, you can hear that inspiration in your voice. Well, the songs that she was doing a rendition of, not necessarily J.Lo singing it, but like the songs she was covering. But was that an inspiration for you when you were learning about, or should I say when you were pursuing the R&B genre? Was the Motown sound?
Motown, yes. I mean, it was such a revolutionary moment in all music, you know, soul music, and crossing over from R&B being its own separate thing, but being brought into the mainstream, into pop music ultimately, and pop culture too. So it was the first time that even it broke a bunch of barriers, like racially, because this music was so infectious and this music was so undeniable that it defied race. I think that everybody could understand it, everybody could feel it, everybody wanted it.
Yeah.
So I feel like there probably isn't a soul artist, R&B artist, you know, that wasn't moved by that. And these songs still ring true. Like, they come on, you know, if you hear any of these songs come on, like, there's a reason why there's like wedding songs that, you know, everybody wants to hear it.
Or
because,
cookout songs,
you know, because it makes you feel so good when you hear this Motown music. It's just like, it has like a scoop of sunshine just built into it. Like it is that. So I'm glad and happy that I get a chance to pay tribute to that genre in what it is that I'm doing now, which is ultimately a scoop of the old, the throwback, and bringing it into with a scoop of the new pop sensibility of today's day and age, you know.
I feel like that is the key factor you have, is the modernizing of classic R&B. Because when we think of classic R&B, we think Otis Redding, we think of the Supremes, we think of Sam Cooke and Marvin Gaye, and R&B has evolved so much, but still has the basis of that foundation in it, which I love. And that's the most interesting part about your music. Now, like I said before, R&B, classic R&B will never die. It's just revived. I feel like every decade it's regenerated in a new way. Like, I feel like you, Leon Bridges, are like the new wave of R&B. It's like you're taking, like, you know, the classic style with the suits and the voice and the strength, but you're mixing it with modernized tunes and lyrics that people can relate to today. Now, how are you utilizing the appeal of classic R&B and modernizing it to fit your individual style as an artist?
I think nowadays we've got access to like crazy things that we can do. The things that they used to take weeks in the recording studio to put together, you can do with a couple of clicks of a button with the producers that I work with, and they're so talented, they're so amazing. So I think that giving a nod to that old school style and aesthetic.
Yeah.
That is that classic vibe. That has become the new fresh thing.
Yeah. It's vintage, you know.
It's become and all of these styles always come back around, all of them. They're in the midst of having a big 80s kind of, the 80s styling has come back into fashion and even into music. Like there's 80s sounding things that are coming into like pop music now, you know, which I just like the cycle of that whole thing. And it just, I think that right now my music seems to be a decent representation of that, and and feels fresh, even though it's reminiscent of an older time.
I feel like that's how you get everyone, the new school, the old school, because sometimes we like that in our music. We like to hear like old inspirations, but we also like something for us. And it's cool you have that. Now, you performed with a lot of great people like Andra Day, Gloria Estefan, Elton John, separate times, you know.
Yes.
But who was your favorite artist to perform with, and what did you learn from each of the artists?
My favorite artist to perform with was Andra Day, definitely. She is such an inspiration to me. As soon as I heard her music, I was like, who is this girl? So many people are trying to do this vintagey thing, but there are a rare few that are really the real deal. And she's that. Such a phenomenal talent and really a wonderful human being as well. Like, really a dear friend too. And I'd say that getting a chance to see her perform each night, this woman is like unbelievable, a force to be reckoned with. Unbelievable voice, great emotion and connection, and she doesn't drop a single note. It's flawless every single night. And that was I learned a lot from her from that tour, and just even as a human being as well, because her capacity for kindness, like she made sure she took care of me and my band, took care of all of her people. She's spreading so much love around, and that follows her around, you know, that energy follows her around. And I think it just, that's something that I want when I get a chance to do my first headline tour. I want everybody to feel the way that I felt when I was on her tour. So that was a huge, huge part of my story and my journey for sure. Got to open for Blondie as well, which, you know, got to actually meet Debbie Harry and the rest of the band, and just listening through their body of work, like it's just like unbelievable. And to share a stage with an artist like that and have them acknowledge your music and acknowledge you as an artist is unbelievable. You know, the ultimate validation, you know, because it's in this, when you're getting started especially, you need as much like confirmation and confidence building in this thing, because it's a lot. You don't really get a lot of that. You know, it's very
you get a lot of knockdowns, but not a lot of build-ups.
You have to, you have to really believe in yourself. So to have the endorsement of somebody like that, it's amazing. And I'd say, I worked with Elton John, but I was just like a backing singer gig years ago back in London. But he actually picked up one of my singles and played it on his radio show and plugged me as an artist. And I'd say that's probably the most exciting thing I think that's happened so far. Which is, that's
insane. Like, because Elton John is a serious musician and a singer, and like many of his time, they're very critical of singers. So the fact that he's like, you know, this is a great song, he's a great artist, I want to play it on my show, that's just like so like an honor. I can only imagine how one would feel after that. I'm still
pinching myself about that. Honestly, I think that it's talk about a legend. You know? And those ears have heard the finest music from all over the world, and he decided to pick a piece of my work. So I'm still humbled and honored about that.
That's so awesome. So what's next for you, Desi? Any new albums, performances, tours?
Yes. The big next thing is going to be an album. So I've been writing consistently for the last 3 years, really, of building up material. Have over 100 songs worth of material to.
You should make like 3 compilation albums.
Exactly. I was like, put out a single a week for the next 5 years.
Literally.
And this is basically the culmination of that. So it's off of the back of. They basically say nowadays that the album, the old-fashioned album, like long play, people are focused on singles. I'm like, I'm not that type of artist. I want to put together a body of work that represents like a time period. You're like, this is this record, this was this tour, you toured that record, and I'm absolutely excited and determined to make something that inspires me the way that I got inspired by listening to these albums along the way. So you can listen to it from top to tail, uninterrupted, and really go on a journey with it. So the next big thing is that I'm actually doing a collaboration with an incredible artist called Lauren Ruth Ward. And we're actually going to be writing a song for a big Jack Daniels campaign that's coming up. So we're going to do a duet that's going to go be one of the new songs for Jack Daniels, which is very cool. And then just continuing to write and kind of get myself ready for the summer and festivals. So that's like
which particular festivals?
Well, this is the period of time that we'll start booking it all.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't booked any at this moment, but kind of looking at some of the smaller ones, like smaller stages on bigger festivals and bigger stages on the smaller festivals right now. So but it's kind of like bit by bit as you kind of the album starts to really take shape. You find the right partners to do that with and to distribute and kind of get that out, get PR and everything ready for it, and then coordinate with the rest of my team about the live projects. So, touring and festivals. So, lots of exciting stuff coming up.
Oh my gosh, it sounds so amazing. So best of luck with all of that. I know it's going to be so cool, and I can't wait to hear your music on the next Jack Daniels commercial.
Yeah.
So that will be much fun. So before we get out of here, I want to play a little game. But before we get to the game, how can everybody find you?
So you can find me on all my socials. It's just at Desi Valentine for Instagram and for Twitter. And it's Desi Valentine Music for Facebook. And you can find anything you need, links to all of those things on www.desivalentinemusic.com.
Yes, and he is very prominent on the internet, so it won't take much. You just type in his name, literally.
Yes, you can find it. Yeah, you can find anything on there: Spotify, YouTube,
right,
iTunes.
And you can find me as always on Instagram at the Chocolate Diva, and you can find me at Twitter on Twitter at Angelica Diva, and now you can find me on Apple Podcasts simply under the Chocolate Diva Talk Show with the exclamation point. So let's play a game. I always love to end the shows with some fun questions.
Let's play.
Yes, let's play. So your favorite UK phrase to say?
Oh God, it's difficult because I'm not allowed to curse.
Okay, your favorite nice UK phrase to say?
I would probably say when somebody is sorry, I need to explain it. When basically somebody's all mouth and no trousers.
What does that mean?
That means
you're I get
all
it.
mouth and no trousers. So you're basically somebody that's just all talk and they don't have anything to back it up.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so nice to know what we say in America. What's it? How do you say it?
It's they're all mouth and no trousers.
All mouth and no trousers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go say that to people now. Okay, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Rolling Stones.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I love the blues,
I mean, I understand. Those are hard choices.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd have to pick the Beatles, but on any given day, it could be the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite Adele song?
Rolling in the Deep.
Oh, yes. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. An artist most people don't know you stan.
Wait, sorry, say that again?
An artist that most people don't know you stan. Before I continue, do you know what that means?
No, I do not.
Okay. Well, it basically means it's derived from pop culture, but it means like an artist you're obsessed with.
Okay, that people wouldn't guess.
And we call it Stan because Eminem did a song called Stan, and it was about early obsessive fan. But
okay,
yes.
I love that song.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
Okay,
yeah.
God, why am I not cool? Why
it's
are you
okay.
So much cooler than me?
It's really a thing on the internet. So but I'm bringing it to the forefront because we're all about pop culture on the Chocolate Diva Talk Show.
Yes. I would say I'm a huge country and western fan, so I love country. I love it. Chris Stapleton is one of the greats in my opinion.
Okay. Wow. Well, I did know you were going to say a country artist. Didn't know which one. And last but not least, your most favorite memory performing with Andra Day, like specific memory.
She was we were in the New Orleans House of Blues, and she gets a 5-minute break as her keyboard player and backing singer Charles, who's unbelievable, sings a song while she has a quick moment to have some water, have her makeup touched up, and she's obviously she does like an hour and a half show. There's a lot of singing, doesn't stop except for just that. And I just happened to be walking past as she was backstage, and she pulled me aside and was like, I really love your show. I really love it, what it is you're doing. I think it like complements each other. Like, what can I do for you? Like, what more can I do for us to be more involved with each other? I was like, the fact that she would take the time, her only 5 minutes that she has to herself, and reach out to her opening act and find a way to connect in ways that she could try and help me and bring me in more. That's kindness that I haven't seen and experienced. Like that's so selfless and so kind. Like I'm still taken aback by that. That was my favorite memory, and I basically was like, I'll do whatever you want.
You were sold at that point.
I'm like, by this point, I'm like, I'm like, you focus on you. That's it. Like, you're in the middle of your show right now. Just focus on that.
Yes.
You hit me up. I'll be there for you anytime you want. So, like, and I always refer to her as my main lady because she's the one that got me my start. You know, she really did.
Oh, I love stories like that. It's so beautiful when people are, very taking in of new artists and people. I think that's great. So thanks for playing my game. Once again, you can find Desi Valentine at Desi Valentine on all social media handles and online, and me on Twitter at Angelica Diva, Instagram The Chocolate Diva, Apple Podcast Chocolate Diva Talk Show, and A Darker Shade of Brown on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today, Desi. It has been really great and fun.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome back anytime. And I'm going to get out of here with Fate Don't Know You, which actually played on Suits.
Yes.
Which I believe Meghan Markle, that was her series, right?
Yes, indeed.
Oh my gosh, only befitting. So everyone, have a happy weekend, have a happy Friday, and I will be back next week with more on the Chocolate Diva Talk Show.
I put my palms before her eyes, and she told me my truth. Laid the road for me, a rich man's destiny, but she saw it without you.